The opening scene shows a waiting room, where a man rolls out a cable TV that is playing an advert for a tech company called Quantum. They are promoting their fiber optic cables that can transmit signals across the Atlantic in just milliseconds, inaugurating a new era of financial advancement and human potential. Raymond Ancelli, a working-class man from Queens, New York, takes care of his ailing younger brother. He opts for a niacin treatment for him this time, desperately hoping it helps. He then heads off to the airport for his lost luggage delivery job, but ends up getting a parking ticket instead because he had the wrong information about the alternate side parking rules for the day. He does not follow the latest tech upgrades, so when the officer informs him that his standard system cannot access the current year's holiday calendar, he begins to consider updating to the popular quantum computer. Ray is offered a promotion at work, but he refuses, wanting to keep his job flexible. He explains to his co-worker that he needs to sign up his brother, Jamie, to a healthcare clinic, as he is suffering from omnia, a chronic fatigue disorder. His co-worker claims it to be a made-up disease. Ray eventually gets a second-hand quantum computer and consults an acquaintance named Felix about the quantum cabling gig, which is rumored to be thousands of dollars income source. Felix offers him a hard-to-get cabling medallion in exchange for an off-the-top 30% of whatever he makes. He hands Ray an information brochure of the cabling company CBLR. The quantum transmitters located in the Northeast woods require constant rewiring for new routes and connections. The hiring and working process seems pretty easy, given a low barrier entry for anyone willing to hike across terrains, dragging the cable carts. All you had to do was lay miles of cables through certain routes along with automation bot carts called Enter in 920 seconds. Ray makes up his mind and accepts his promotion at work, unable to run deliveries anymore, and signs up for the cabling venture. Jamie is brought to the Bar Kreider Clinic for Omnia patients, where Ray agrees to a $10,000 authorized hold to pay. Erica and Joe, Felix's associates, take Ray and another guy named Phil to the Quantum Expo, where all the enthusiastic cablers are provided with basic training and instructions. They will be equipped with a cabling cart, a cable monitor, and a handheld GPS unit. To prove themselves as the best cablers, they must challenge their status quo and beat the automated carts. After the training video, they undergo a DNA swab test and Ray ensures that the working environment is safe. Later, they drive up to someone's garage at 54 Mayberry, collecting their hiking equipment. This surprises Ray as random people have access to the security units of the house. They arrive at the Allegheny State Park cabling zone where they scan their monitors with individual trail names. Ray is assigned the name Lapsus Beeftek and is set for a short route meant for beginners. His peer cablers all seem to be somewhat experienced and help him in getting aerial resupply of cable from the auto drones. The cable monitor doesn't let them rest until their individually scheduled break times. After a heaving trek through the woods, Ray eventually sticks the cable to the large transmitter cube through magnetic attraction, thus completing his first route, which earns him a fund of $795. He finds cablers camped near a Gen store franchised by locals where they sell a variety of packed food, refreshments, and hiking gear. Ray buys a lasagna and learns that payment can be made through cash or points. He is surprised to discover he already has around 60,000 points but chooses to pay in cash anyway. On his second route, he goes through his monitor and finds personal files of someone, including a video of a little girl named Anna with a robot that she calls Lapsus. Outside his tent during the night break, a couple of cablers sit chatting away about an automated cart that had surpassed one of them. Upon hearing that Ray did not get to choose his trail name and had a huge number of points on his very first day, they suspect he was assigned somebody else's medallion. One of them suggests donating some of his points to a donation pool for the unjustly detained and penalized cablers. The next day, they disappear before dawn, despite an agreed breakfast together, highlighting the fact that Ray stuck out like a sore thumb among all the other cablers, for reasons known and unknown. But he soon makes some acquaintances by listening to their controversial opinions about nature and humans versus AI. Jamie's doctor from the clinic called Ray to suggest upgrading to Track 3 magnesium acoustics treatments, as Jamie had been unresponsive to their conventional therapy. The price range for it is too high, so Ray decides to stick to the normal plan. He notices a cabler try to wire trap a bot cart, but it backfires on him as the bot detects a DNA match on the wire and sets off a security dispatch alert. After the last route, Ray's weekend cabling was supposed to end with him leaving for his airport job. But the next route has more than $100,000 in funds and Ray ends up accepting it before anyone else does. Another group of cablers mocks the quantum company's CEO, Nori Capaharty, for her PR lies, that she cares about the people and the workers. A man among them picks a fight with Ray after knowing that his trail name is Lapsus Beeftek, but his friend stops him, assuring him that it's not the real Lapsus. Ray is seemingly confused about this case, but nobody trusts him enough to share what they know. One man, however, advises him to use a fake trail name. The next day, as Ray is on and about his route, he loses his cable supply and his monitor goes out of range. He eventually gets an airdrop, but some kid snags it and takes off running. Ray chases him and ends up being caught in a net trap set by a bunch of kids. Ray thinks he's getting mugged before a blonde woman threatens to report the kids and they scurry away. She elaborates that they are the local kids of poor seasonal laborers. She introduces herself as Anna, a writer and cabler. It's her 5th year of cabling. She devotes 6 months of each year to cabling and spends the rest of the year living life the way she wants to. She shows Ray her writing on the undervalued and abused independent contractors of companies like Quantum, who are left to fend for themselves while the owners and shareholders keep getting richer off of them. She also warns Ray of recent scams in the treatment of Omnia, but he mentions that he's especially concerned for Jamie as his mother had passed away from CFS, a fatigue syndrome similar to Omnia. Ray also seems to see corporate jobs like cabling in a positive light, because they offer equal shots for everyone. However, Anna reduces his arguments, saying he already had a miraculous head start as a new cabler, with the huge number of points that he uses to buy gear, excessive payments for short routes and easy terrains, which old cablers spend an eternity earning and finding opportunities for. Ray has nothing to say about this. As he sleeps at night, a bot car taps onto his route and passes him. Anna helps him understand that he needs to constantly surpass the robot until the end of the route, which is impossible for human capabilities. The cabler's common solution for this, however illegal, was the steel wire with blue text trap, which usually proved to be unsuccessful as the bots detected DNA traces and found the matches. Anna shares her rock henge trap idea, which goes undetected and keeps the bot occupied, as it usually takes around 2 days for security to retrieve it. Ray wonders why the company doesn't replace more human workers with bot carts, and the reason is that they usually get tangled in the brushes and cannot cross water bodies. She mentions Lapsus, a cabler who rewrote the code for better functioning of the bots, whom the cabler community generally despises. Ray pries out more information about the Lapsus guy and learns that he also collected DNA swabs of all cablers for an alleged bone marrow transplant registry, but made a DNA database instead, which the bot carts used to match detected DNA with the cablers who try to tamper with them. Anna recalls that the cablers went on a mass strike but were eventually forced into signing an NDA, which is why everyone takes a swab test during the training now. Ray doesn't want to be mistaken as Lapsus, so he gives her a fake trail name and potentially avoids connecting with her monitor network. Soon, there is a thunderstorm alert, so Ray and Anna head inside the tent. They have a short friendly chat as she tells him he has a 70 seconds mobster kind of vibe. The following morning, Anna begins to answer a curious Ray again, telling him that the bot carts only stop when they break down and they use flashing lights to alert security. Ray, however, mentions that a bot cart had stopped in front of him on his first day of cabling. Anna is baffled by this information and asks him to recall the action or code responsible for it. They have to abruptly split as their routes change direction, but she tells him to find the code and find the real Lapsus if needed. He is surprised and asks her how she came to know his trail name and, more importantly, that he wasn't Lapsus. She doesn't respond but gives him a hint, that is, a wellness center called Half Moon Neutrals. The bot cart passes Ray again, and painfully so. It happens near the very end of the route. He runs to catch up and in the heat of the moment, ends up smashing the bot with a rock. He then completes his final route, gets his $100,000 fund, and buries the bot cart debris under rocks. He leaves the cabling zone and heads over to the 54 Mayberry garage to put the equipment back. To his surprise, the owner of the garage refrains him from charging his phone. At the clinic, he asks for Jamie, but he cannot be released mid-therapy. We learn that Ray had eventually agreed to the magnesium acoustics treatment, but when he goes to pay the bills, his card declines. It is apparently under investigation. He secretly brings out Jamie, and they drive off in his delivery van. Later on, Ray calls his bank only to find out no such investigation team exists. They head to Half Moon Neutrals, where they meet an old man named John. He calls the clinical therapy a waste of money and gives Jamie a purely natural and selectively grown custom-made tea. But he doesn't help Ray with his quest of finding the trigger that stops the bot carts. Ray notices a lot of numerology charts on the walls and suspects that the trigger must be a cipher code. He tries to figure it out, with a little help from Jamie, who searches through the old cabling forums on the internet. Felix barges into their house, asking for his 30% share. When Ray insists that he hasn't received any payment himself, Felix says that illegal doings such as smashing the robot would alter their original agreement. Ray also confronts him about giving him a controversial person's medallion, but Felix denies having any control over assigning medallions. He also tells Ray not to trust Joe anymore and forces him and Jamie to continue cabling. Ray and a much less feeble Jamie start cabling again and they meet Anna. Ray mumbles about the code being a Baconian cipher, but Jamie interrupts him, insisting that they show her the video. The video in question is the tape recording of the little girl and the robot. Jamie had found one of John's old archive posts on the forum, suggesting that certain audio signals could be used as a trigger to shut down the carts. When Anna is shown the video, she seems to recognize it. Both Ray and Jamie are shocked at the revelation that Anna is the girl in the video. This explains how she was aware of Lapsus' whereabouts in the first place. She pleads with Ray to hand over the video to help the cabler community and start afresh with them. In a secret cablers meeting, Joe gives a sensational speech about wage workers like themselves slaving away, bound by absurd corporation rules while the higher classes keep benefiting from their hard work. They plan to rebel against the company and use the audio to trigger the automated carts into an immediate shutdown, which goes undetected by the robotic algorithm. Obviously bothered by this overthrow, the CEO of Quantum, Nori, goes to meet John or Lapsus Beeftek. Meanwhile, Anna breaks into her father's wellness center to get the custom-made tea for Jamie, as it has shown positive results. John notices her in the CCTV recording on his phone but seems to let it slide. When Nori confronts him about the trigger, he denies anything of the sort being programmed into the coding. He also says he does not know the woman in the picture allegedly responsible for obtaining the trigger source, that is, Anna. Soon after, we see Ray, Anna, and Jamie watching the news featuring Joe in an interview about wage workers fighting for their protection under the corporation rules. The three of them appear to have become close friends, and they share hearty laughs as they joke about Anna's sleeping habits. The ending scene shows an automated cart, in a somewhat sullen way, waddling toward a house outside the cabling zone. It's 54 Mayberry, and the bot cart enters the garage as a man picks it up and plugs it into a charging port.